Biocontrol or biological control is a component of an integrated pest management strategy. It is defined as the reduction of pest population by natural enemies and typically involves an active human role. Or we can say that it is a method of controlling pests such as insects, mites, weeds, and plant diseases using other organisms. Keep in mind that all natural insect species are also suppressed by naturally occurring organisms and environmental factors with no human input. This is referred to as natural control. Natural enemies of insects and pests are known as biological control agents. They include predators, parasitoids, and pathogens. Biological control of weeds include insects and pathogens. Biological control agents of plant diseases are often termed as antagonists. Here the question arises, why we want to use biocontrol or biological control? The environmental pollution caused by excessive use and misuse of chemicals has led to considerable changes in people's attitude towards the use of pesticides, etc. So, in the present scenario, biological control have significant role to reduce the effects of pests and diseases along with the environmental effects. Three basic biological control strategies are used: importation, which is also called introduction, augmentation, and conservation. Importation is the introduction of natural enemies to a new locality where they did not occur naturally. To be more effective at controlling a pest, a biological control agent requires a colonizing ability, which allows it to keep pace with changes to the habitat in space and time. Control is greatest if the agent has temporal persistence, so that it can maintain its population even in the temporary absence of the target species. And if it is an opportunistic forager, this characteristic enables it to rapidly exploit a pest population. When biological control agents are successfully established, they usually continue to control the pest population. This method is also called classical biological control. One of the earliest successes was in controlling Icera puschii, also called cottony cushion scale. This is an insect that feeds on more than 65 families of woody plants. It was controlled in Australia using a predatory insect, Rhodolia cardinalis, which is a type of a beetle. Augmentation is trying to increase the natural enemies, means the biological control agents of the pest species, used in situations where natural enemy population levels are too low to be effective, so numbers are increased artificially. Augmentation involves the supplemental release of natural enemies that occur in a particular area, boosting the naturally occurring populations there. This supplemental release is done in two different ways. Number one, inoculative release. In this, a small number of the control agents are released at intervals to allow them to reproduce in the hope of setting up longer-term control and thus keeping the pest down to a low level, constituting prevention rather than cure. Number two is inundative release. In contrast, large number of biological control agents are released in the hope of rapidly reducing or damaging pest populations, correcting a problem that has already arisen. Augmentation can be effective, but it is not guaranteed to work and depends on the precise details of the interactions between each pest and control agent. Augmentation is used where populations of a natural enemy are not present or cannot respond quickly enough to the pest population. Therefore, augmentation usually does not provide permanent suppression of pests, as may occur with importation or conservation methods. The conservation of existing biological control agents in an environment is the third method of biological control. It involves identifying any factor that limit the effectiveness of the biological control agents and changing these limiting factors to help the beneficial species. For example, earwigs are natural predators which can be encouraged in gardens by hanging upside down flower pots filled with straw or wood wool.